Let's talk about something different today, Pokemon card investing. Well, of course, it's no different on this channel because I'm Michael Pokeoz. We talk all things Pokemon card investing on this channel. And I guess today's video, I wanted to talk about not the state of the world, of course. We all know what's going on at the moment, but what exactly that means for Pokemon card investing. And I guess I wanted to say first up, I think, and of course, these are only opinions, of course, but I think everyone's safe. I think your Pokemon card investments are safe. And I want to explain the difference between maybe investing in something else, so more traditional investments, property, shares, even things like altcoins at the moment, like Bitcoin, in comparison to investing in something more collectible based, like Pokemon cards. Why is it that Pokemon cards seems quite resilient to any outside market influences? Why is that? Why does it seem to surge? And it's almost like the last time we saw some sort of, global financial crisis, so to speak, which really happened during COVID. That was the period that Pokemon cards actually took off. Why is that? Why do they seem so resilient? Let's talk all things that in this video. So before we jump into Pokemon cards, let's just talk about stocks and crypto for a second. These are very much tied to global liquidity and investor sentiment. When things happen, when fear hits markets, people will pull money out. And what happens then? Investor confidence goes down and share prices go down. It's as simple as that. Look, I'm no economist, but that seems to be the trend when things like this happen, when COVID hit, when the last global financial crisis happened, obviously when major wars and oil prices and everything seems to surge, investor fear sort of hits, doesn't it? It's really, and that's the difference, right? Is that, altcoins, share markets, even investors investing in property may be a tiny bit different, but really the only reason you're doing that, the sole purpose of it, it is solely driven by financial returns. You're not doing it because it looks good. You're doing it because you want some financial returns. And this is the biggest difference between that and Pokemon, because not everyone that buys Pokemon cards is solely doing it for financial returns. Some people will do it for lots of reasons. It might be nostalgia based. It might, of course, be for financial returns. The other one is there is some inherent collectability to it. Some people will literally just spend that money to have the collectible. This is often why, and here's a similarity we can draw, this is often why collectible cars, rare, exotic, even some of the more, 90s, more modern JDM cars start to go up. Those collectible cars start to go up when, financial crises seem to happen, because there's nostalgia attached to it. There's collectability attached to it. It's not just being purchased for financial returns. And that's the thing about Pokemon. It falls into the same boat. So let's discuss that in more detail in this video. Hey, a couple of shout outs. One is there is some merchandise for Pokeoz, so you can certainly grab yourself some beneath the video or in the description of this video. And the big one, of course, is today's video sponsor, which is the Collector app. There'll be a link in the description to download the video. If you don't have it, it is awesome. It is the one-stop shop for all your investing and collecting needs. You can put all your sealed, all your singles inside there. The data inside the Collector app, particularly from an investing standpoint, is second to none. You can see everything, especially if you're a pro user. You can go so far back in time as a pro user and check all the singles, all your slabs, PSA populations. You can check all your sealed product, what is moving in the market, what isn't moving. It can help you make better financial/investment decisions when it comes to investing in Pokemon cards. So again, there'll be a link in the description to the Collector app in this video. Right, well, why? So, okay, we talked briefly about why I think your money is going to be safe with Pokemon card investing during this, I suppose, little bit of uncertain global time at the moment, is that not everyone buys it. And look, people do. Don't get me wrong. Like, people certainly buy Pokemon card product for financial returns. I do. Hence the whole idea behind the channel. Like, I don't just buy one of everything. I do buy one of every booster box, but if I think it's a good return, I'll buy more of them. That doesn't make it a collection for me. That's a collection would be one of each. Buying multiple of them is simply to get returns. That's the idea behind it, to get financial returns by investing in multiple products because I think it's a good product to invest in. Same with people that buy singles. Some people will buy PSA 10 slabs because they see it as an investment. Other people will buy it because they literally just want to collect it. They want to be the 1 in 20 people that have that super low PSA 10 population on the planet. And whether it goes up or goes down, I mean, they're probably not too phased. They see it as a piece of artwork that they can lock away. And here's just some evidence up on the screen. Like, here's a few. We've seen it. We've seen how crazy things are going at the moment. Here's a few examples of just how strong the Pokemon card market has been over the last 3 weeks. There's a few examples on here. Like, the one that gets me is the Skyridge booster box. Like, I remember when I started investing in Pokemon cards back in, late 2019, early 2020, and starting to lock some things away, like some Sun and Moon booster boxes. I can remember looking back and, 2020 is really when it took off. And I was talking about the COVID era before and there was lots of reasons for that. It wasn't just because there was a global financial crisis attached to the outbreak from COVID. There was lots of things attached to it. But one thing that stands out to me is the Wizard of the Coast era booster boxes. They were still expensive at the time and they were rapidly going up. But, you could buy Skyridge booster boxes back in 2019, even like mid 2020 for, 10 to 20,000 US dollars. And to think in just a short period of time, and by short, I mean 5 to 6 years, it's gone from that to, nearly $250,000 for a Skyridge booster box. And that sort of brings me, I guess, to my first point. My first point as to why some sealed products, particularly Wizards of the Coast sealed products or even modern sealed products, are quite resilient to any financial distress in other markets, and that is because of the supply. There is some serious economics attached to the sealed side of Pokemon investing. And the main one is that I guess we could argue that they are deflationary assets. As time goes by, more and more get opened. And look, maybe back in 2020, like, I'm just plucking numbers out of the air. Like, I don't know the numbers whatsoever, but let's say back in 2020, there was, again, plucking numbers out of there. Let's say there was 8,000 sealed Skyridge booster boxes left on the planet. Not saying that was the case, just using the example. As we fast forward from 2020 through to 2026, lots of things have happened. We've seen the rise of rip and shippers, we've seen YouTubers opening, we've seen, influencers coming into the space opening product. We've seen, countless card shows which have become great blogging places or vlogging places for content creators, buying Skyridge packs, booster boxes, buying up sealed collections. That sort of media outlet has become really, really big. So let's say there was 8,000 boxes left in existence back in 2020. What if there's only 600 left now? Or 800 left now? Or 1,200 or 50, I don't even know. What the point I'm trying to make is the supply of Skyridge booster box has significantly decreased from 2020 through to 2026. And from 2026 now, there will be people that just lock up their Skyridge booster box as a piece of history and it'll never be opened. But I can guarantee you from 2026 through to 2031, over the next 5 years, more and more of them will get opened. And what does that mean? There is less and less and less surviving on the market. And that is the economics behind sealed investing. Even something quite modern, like Evolving Skies. And again, I'm just plucking a number out of the air. Maybe there's 50,000 sealed boxes left on the planet. In 5 years' time, 2031, maybe that cuts in half. Maybe it cuts in 2/3. Maybe that 50,000 left unopened boxes on the planet cuts down to 20,000 unopened boxes left on the planet. What do you think is going to happen to the price? As another 5 years goes past, maybe we're down to 10,000 boxes and then 5,000 boxes and then several thousand boxes like Skyridge as we move 20 years into the future. You get my point. The economics around that is that supply goes down. That's one of the reasons sealed Pokemon is quite resilient to any outside market influence, because if people want to relive the nostalgia and feel good and open packs and all those other reasons people open packs and open boxes, the number of them left just diminishes. That's my first point. My second point is, I think there's some level of insulation to it. I think there's some level of insulation to both slabs and sealed Pokemon card investing overall, and raw prices as well. Like, It's funny because there's a lot of high-end buyers, and maybe I'm talking a little bit more Wizards of the Coast era here, but even modern stuff. Like, we saw that Umbreon EX from Evolving Skies, Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, the black label go for like ridiculous money. It's because I think there is some level of wealth insulation here. Like, maybe people that collect Pokemon cards, it's done with disposable income. Like they aren't heavily leveraged into it. It's not like they've poured their life savings into it. They're generally quite, financially set, and the money they allocate to Pokemon cards is the play money, so to speak. So that they're not forced to sell when the market goes a little bit sideways, or other financial markets go a little bit sideways. And sometimes it's quite the opposite. Sometimes people will go, well, this is my time to actually continue acquiring more grails. And we've seen that. Some of the grails of the hobby have been absolutely going crazy. And this sort of leads me into my next point as to why I think it's quite resilient. It's like when other markets get a little bit shaky, the ones that literally are solely driven by financial return and global liquidity, investor sentiment starts going down, people will actually move some more money into something they feel is a bit more resilient, like collectibles. And therefore we can actually see a shift of more money moving into this market. It's crazy, isn't it? And I guess the third point I wanted to make is, well, I'm up to my fourth point. Either way, the points just keep coming, is that Pokemon's still growing. Like, why would the Pokemon Company International purchase, through Millennium Print Group, purchase more printing facilities if they thought there was going to be a downturn in Pokemon cards? There is no downturn coming. Like, it's crazy. The sets we're seeing, we've got 30th anniversary around the corner. It looks like we're getting a Rayquaza, so like maybe a Gen 3 base set coming out. Like this is only going to mean more and more big things for the hobby. It is just going, it's just going crazy. And look, I'm not saying there's not going to be a downturn at all, and maybe there will be a small downturn in the hobby. I'm just saying how my whole argument or whole point here is how resilient the Pokemon market is compared to some other markets. And look, if there is a small downturn, generally what happens is it can take a little bit longer. And I'll tell you why. It's because you can't just cash out and sell your shares at a click of a button. You can't just you can cash out and sell your shares at a click of a button, but you can't just cash out and sell all your Pokemon cards at a click of a button. It takes time. There's slower liquidity to moving Pokemon card product, and I guess there's, generally speaking, probably less panic selling. So if there is a downturn in the market, it'll probably take a little while. Like maybe it'll be a little bit of a byproduct, and by then maybe things have passed. Maybe things have got better, and all of a sudden, investor confidence returns to every market. And I think that's the beauty of Pokemon. It's like if there's investor confidence in other markets, there's investor confidence in Pokemon. If there's less investor confidence in other markets, there still seems to be investor confidence in Pokemon. It just keeps going from strength to strength. So I guess I wanted to do this video to say I think things are safe, particularly sealed. I always go on about sealed Pokemon. I always think sealed Pokemon, given its deflationary asset sort of status, I always think it's going to be a safe investment. Well, there we have it. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch everyone next time.